What's going on, my eaters? It's your boy Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew, aka call me anything but Andy. Y'all, we're so excited to be here with y'all today. Today we're just gonna do a continuation of a video that we posted a few weeks ago on knife skills. I already showed you what different knives do and so on and so forth. Today we're actually gonna get into using the knives a little bit, but before we get into that, please, 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 y'all, make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things so we can keep bringing you here this great content. Let's go. All right, y'all, listen. Knife skills are not one of the most exciting things that's going on in the kitchen. I remember when I was in culinary school for a little bit, I remember entire classes or large majorities of classes being spent on knife skills alone. Like I said, it's not fun, but when you're a chef, the whole culinary profession, your whole career is genuinely built on your ability to use a knife and get certain cuts and things for your desired outcomes. There's all sorts of things we can talk about when we talk about knife skills. Too much to cover in just one of these videos. This is probably going to be an ongoing thing that we'll thread in here and there, just to kind of make sure that we can keep fortifying the fundamentals for y'all. Today, we're going to talk about julienning. Julienning, little strips, whatever you want to call them. If you're working in the commercial kitchen, the term is typically julienne. If you're cooking at home, you can say julienne, that's a proper term. But, you know, cutting it into little strips or strips of varying sizes, that's what we're going to talk about today. The vegetables that I'm going to work with today and demonstrate on today are cucumbers, summertime, carrots, and probably the most common vegetable used in the kitchen, the onion. So first of all, when you're talking about julienning, you want to prepare your vegetables, clean them up. Then you want to think about, and whether this is julienne or any knife cut, you want to think about the final product that you're trying to create. That helps you decide what size julienne or dice or whatever the other cuts you're particularly using. For demonstration purposes today, I'm gonna just be pretty generic, okay? We're gonna start with a cucumber. You take a piece of a cucumber. The thing about cucumbers, carrots, parsnips, potatoes, when you're julienning these things or cutting them or working with them, you want to make sure you produce a side where you can stabilize your vegetables so it's not rolling all over the place. It's kind of hard to cut things if they're rolling all over the place, so you want to stabilize them. So for the cucumber, what we're going to do, we're going to peel it up a little bit. I just got a little hotel pan here to help catch trash and scraps. You know, you always want to keep your work area clean. Whoops. Vegetable peeler. When you're julienning a cucumber, the first thing you want to do is remove the seed. So I cut it in half. I cut the piece of cucumber in half, and then in fourths. Once I cut it in fourths, I'm going to cut the seeds out. I use the tip of my knife and just peel the seeds off. Now, just like I said earlier, now these are flat, at least mostly flat. It makes them more easy to manage when you want to cut them into strips now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them over. Turning them over in this case makes them even a little more sturdy. As you can see, it's not moving. You want to take your knife. Whenever you're cutting anything, you want to make sure you hold your knife firmly in your dominant hand and you guide the knife with your other hand, keeping your fingers tucked like a claw. You just always want to make sure you don't lose fingertips. Typically, if somebody cuts themselves while they're cutting, it's because they let one of these little fingers stick out while they were using their knife and it didn't work out well for them. So I got my cucumber here. I don't need anything super big, kind of medium. And y'all, for our purposes, these are our julienne cucumbers. Now, I do want to note, for 99.9% of you, what I'm showing you right now is going to work. You're at home, you're cooking, you're making something for yourself to eat, or making food for your family. There's no James Beard award-winning critics or whatever looking for you or trying to critique your food. So what I'm showing you is going to work. Now, when you get, just for food for thought, when you get into fine dining and more curated events, this is when the precision of knife skills come into play. You have someone, you have the same cucumber, they're holding it, and at this point they're taking much more care to make the strips. They're going for uniformity throughout the cut. They're making sure to use their entire blade from point to heel. This is a lot of times when you see sushi restaurants or certain salad stations. Again, a little bit more precision. It's all about presentation. Here we go. And here we have some julienne cucumber. Again, when you julienne, different sizes and things of that nature can take place. For our purposes, that's going to work today. Now we have a carrot. Again, we're going to do some peeling. Now, when I'm julienning a carrot or working with carrots and have to get specific cuts and they have to be precise, one thing that I've learned to do typically, I'll use the fatter part of the carrot. It's just easier to work with as you're processing them. And then I'll save the smaller parts for things that have to be less precise. Boiling in stocks, prep for mirepoix, things that are going in the food processor, so on and so forth. But for something like a julienne, I'm going to cut off a piece there. We're going to cut off the stem. Again, remember what I said. You want to make sure this thing's not rolling around on you. So how I do that, I hold the carrot as firm as I can, tucking my fingers. And what I'm trying to do is as safely as possible. You want to have a sharp knife so these things don't roll on you. You want to create a flat side. With that said, you see that the carrot is no longer rolling to and fro, but it's able to be stationary, which makes it easier to cut. Once you have the flat side for a julienne, again, tuck your fingers, use them to guide the knife, and depending on the thickness, you cut accordingly. For most people, again, these cuts here are going to work just fine. We're not fine dining. We're cooking at home for our friends and family. However, definitely if you're a culinary professional, these are things you want to work on and get more precise and get better over time. I cut off some more slices, and we're going to continue to julienne. Two slices. Again, whenever you're doing knife cuts, you want to make sure your knife is as sharp as possible. Sharp knives equals safe knives. Your knife isn't sharp, that's when things start going bad for you. Nasty cuts that don't heal and things of that nature. Again, as you're doing these juliennes, as you're using the different vegetables, the more precise you get, the better the appearance is going to be. But for most cooks at home, just running your knife through these in a systematic way is going to be just fine. We've done the cucumber, we've done the carrot. Now we're going to show you how to julienne a onion. Believe it or not, I just realized last year, all these years of cooking, y'all, I've been julienning onions the wrong way this whole time. I just learned last year the proper way to do it. And I was kind of resistant in learning it too. So the julienne the onion, you want to first start by cutting both ends off the onion. On the stem part, you want to keep it as close as possible because right now you're worried about keeping the onion intact, letting it stay together. Once you cut the ends off, you use your knife and cut directly through the middle of the stem end. Peel it, get it clean. You can wear gloves, y'all, with onions. I've been peeling onions and cutting onions for a long time, so I don't really care, but some people have an issue with the onions getting on their hands and all that, understandably. You can wear gloves if that's an issue. Okay, so now we're gonna julienne the onion. We've cut it, we've cut it in half, we've peeled it, we got the stem end on one end. Now the end that the stem is on, you want to fully trim that end off when you're going to start julienning. For a long time, I did not do that. I was cutting towards the stem and found out, like I said last year, that's not how you julienne. Once you cut the end off, you want to turn the onion where the stem is facing away from you. And I'm right here and I cut from right to left and just start cutting your strips. When your onion runs out or when you find yourself cutting directly at a 90-degree angle, you just want to rotate your onion again. And at a 90-degree angle, we have julienned the onion. Pretty much, y'all, what I learned was keeping the onion that way and julienning it that way, which is the proper way, keeps your pieces more uniform. Whereas if you do it the opposite way, you have onion pieces of all sorts. You don't really want that in your stir fry and stuff. So y'all, we've done it. Today we've julienned cucumbers, we've julienned carrots, we've julienned some onions for you. We've started the conversation about knife skills, fundamental principle in all cooking. I hope that this was useful for you. Again, remember, when you're cooking and you're doing these juliennes or any knife cuts, you always want to consider the end product. That is what helps you know exactly how to cut your produce, whether you're making a salsa or whether you're making spaghetti sauce or whether you're making a stir fry. Each application is going to require you to cut your vegetables differently. Think about that when you start cutting. Y'all remember, we are always here to educate you, excite you, empower you into the business and dreams that you want for you and your family. Please, 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 y'all, before you do anything else, 2 things. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things so we can keep bringing you this content. And check out our homeboys, Chuck and John, and Last Night's Coffee on all streaming platforms. Great, great guys, great, great podcast. I think they're even on YouTube now. And until next time, y'all, we are gone.